living systems infrastructure of Kolkata. In this lecture, I will be narrating some stories actually, and these stories constitute the socio-ecological descriptions or realities or narratives from the East Kolkata wetlands. So, I have put Kolkata in brackets because East Kolkata wetlands and Kolkata, I consider them as embedded entities. Then I would also discuss a bit about the concept of web. I think we had already discussed web in one of the previous lectures, but here I will get the opportunity to further expand this idea or concept of web, which shows, which demonstrates how again Kolkata and East Kolkata wetlands co-constitute each other. And then the most important part would be the discussion on why and how we need to rethink infrastructure, and this rethinking of infrastructure, how this can actually be an enabler for us to reimagine resilience. Resilience is something that is being used as a buzzword now, right. So, just maybe 10 years or 8 years before, the keyword was sustainability, but now the buzzword is resilience. Everyone is using resilience, like psychological resilience, social resilience, ecological resilience, the resilience in every form. So, any discipline, people coming from the architectural background, historians, climate scientists, everyone, for everyone resilience has become such an important word. But what resilience is, so far as urban ecological scapes are concerned, that is something which is very, very important to discuss and understand. So, here in the last part I will be talking about infrastructures and why it is important to rethink infrastructure, to reimagine resilience by harnessing the existing agential abilities that shape urban nature. So, story 1, if just see the picture, take a look at the picture. You see here, and first of all I must acknowledge, I must mention Dr. Dhrubajyoti Ghosh, who was one of my mentors, and this is from his book 2014. So, Dhrubajyoti Ghosh, like he is the or was the sanitation engineer, and whose name is associated with East Kolkata wetlands, because he is the one who had done lot of research on East Kolkata wetlands and making us understand the value of these wetlands and what the wetlands actually offer. And he was also a very good painter, and he used to draw like so many sketches from the wetlands, and these sketches are outcomes of his transect walks and of his hours and hours of spending time in the wetlands, talking to the people, observing nature closely. So, this is from his sketch, and you see the first sketch where you see a woman in knee deep water. This is one of the berries. So, if you go to the wetlands, if you go to the East Kolkata wetlands during noon hours, during the afternoon, you will see, and this is a common sight, you will see women in knee deep water, and what are they doing? They are actually collecting snails from the bottom of the pond, from the pond bed. And then these women carry these snails and sell these snails to someone who is sitting at an office on the bank of the wetland, and this office in the local dialect, in the local language, it is known as alaghar, and the women then selling the snails to this man, to the person in the office, and then they also get a payback from this person. And then the snails are collected at the alaghar and crushed, and these crushed snails are used as feed, as duck feed. So, they are fed to the ducks, and you see these paddling ducks on the berries, and the droppings of the duck also become a very valuable source of food, fish feed, source of food for the fish. So, just imagine the circular ecosystem attributes that are beautifully there, that are beautifully embedded within the socio-ecological tapestry of the East Kolkata wetlands. This is story number 2, and this is the story of water hyacinth. Now, and of course, the local use of water hyacinth to prevent bank erosion, I will explain it. And this again I like this picture I owe it to Dr. Dhrubajyoti Ghosh, but then one of my students Shaunadip Bhattacharya, he he redrew the picture to make it a little more vibrant, added some colors to it. So, you see here what happened is that the fishers, they were actually facing challenges with erosion, because what was happening was that in bheris, that is sewage fed ponds, so bheris which were like which are a bit bigger, like 20 hectares or even more. Then the problem is that the waves, the surface waves, it dislodged the soil embedded to the natural grip, and kind of it was and provided some how do I say, the embankments were embankments were not strong enough to fight against the currents of the waves. So, what could be the ideal solution? And the solution actually came from the locals themselves. So, the solution was that the energy or the current of the waves had to be stopped, and the waves had to be dismantled before the waves could reach the shore. So, what did they do? You can see it is, I think, one of the best innovations and examples of local technology, and where you see that they are bamboo poles. 2 poles you see at a distance of like roughly 3 to 4 meters. These 2 poles, they were inserted at the bottom of the pond, and in between you see like a fence made of galvanized ironware, and of thickness roughly again 3 to 4 millimeter. And what is there on these fences, on this fence? So, you see water hyacinth again, which is available in plenty in the bheris, in the sewage fed ponds. So, you see how the locals had arranged water hyacinth on the iron fence, and then the waves entering into this area, actually getting dismantled, losing energy, and that is how, and that is why the embankments are protected. This is the way, this is a mechanism through which embankments are protected here, and this is one of the very important local innovations through which they had now provided the solution to embankment erosion, to bank erosion for more than 7 or 8 decades. This is the last or the third story, story number 3, and this is about cow dung and cow sheds. I will be happy to know that we now have another very small but quite exciting action research project, where we are actually using or we would like to understand the wetland story from the prism of the cow dung, and why is this cow dung so important? Because number of the interviews that I had taken with the some of the very owners, some of the very workers, cooperative members, they pointed out about to them cow dung, it is very valuable, because when for example the secretary of one of the cooperative bheris, he narrated first time, I listened to the story of cow dung from him, and when he narrated the story, he became so passionate about it, and because it was quite like evident from his gestures, and his voice modulation and things like that. And even there in the next week, you will also learn about you will learn about like this Boro Choinabi cooperative berry, and you will also meet him, you will listen to his voice and his aspirations, his ideas about the wetlands. Some of the video footages would be shown, because we have indeed a case study on the on this particular cooperative. So, from him I could listen to the story of cow dung, where he said that when he was young, then he could actually smell the cow dung coming from the wastewater canal and entering into his berry. And when he was narrating this story, he said that the beautiful smell of the cow dung. And why is it beautiful? Beauty is so relative. It is beautiful to him because, or to the other fishers, because cow dung is a rich source of fish feed. It is an organic manure and which provides nutrients to the wastewater. But then he said that now no more we get cow dung or that quality of cow dung, and because, and when I asked him the reason that why is this so, he says that because Kolkata, how many cow sheds do you have, how many cow sheds are left in Kolkata. And then I also tried to resonate, I also tried to remember, and I could remember that when I was young, for example, I was a child, then there were so many cattle sheds, so many cow sheds in the city itself. But there is history that had led to the I mean there had been also some banning activities as well. So, we really do not have so many cow dungs in the city. I mean they can be counted in some parts of central or northern Kolkata, north and central part of the city. So, what is happening is that there has been a change in the quality of the sewage water from organic to inorganic. So, from cow dung to plastics, like because the use of these materials had increased so much in the last few years. So, for example, soap packets and inorganic soap waste, shampoos, detergents, so many other things. And honestly speaking, all of these varieties of waste are very, very harmful, for the wetlands. But on the other hand, one can imagine the power of the cow dung so far as the quality of wastewater is concerned, and so far as the growth and nourishment of the fish is concerned. So, again it's all, I mean I think these three stories, they totally put forward this very strong and important argument that why should we understand and perceive East Kolkata wetlands as a keystone ecosystem, right. And here again I explain this concept of WEB. So, WEB can be considered as an acronym, and if I expand this acronym, then I get, for example, weaved embedded belongings. And I would like to use WEB as a conceptual analytical traction to bring to the fore the entangled embedded relationship between the city and her wider environment in the form of wetlands in this particular case. So, then how should we understand EKW? So, I think EKW should be understood as a very complex system, as an adaptive system. So, complex and adaptive living systems infrastructure evolve over time across an intersecting array of technological apparatuses and social arrangements through constant interactions and also interaction. I will explain what interaction is, apart from and along with interactions, what is interaction between human and non-human actors. So, yes, if we really want to understand EKW, we should not understand it as a separate ecosystem, but we should understand it as an entangled embedded system within the larger socio-ecological tapestry of Kolkata, as a whole, as a delta city, as a delta urban space, and we need to understand EKW as living system infrastructure of Kolkata, which has evolved across space and time and along intersecting array of technological apparatuses and social arrangements, and the interactions, dynamic interactions between human and non-human actors. And you see the picture here, this has been produced by Grit from SMUS, and you see like everything, you know. This is actually also you see the so it is again a kind of a combined image which provides an imagery about the lakes of Bangalore. Yeah, so in the case studies this the video footages are already there. You will find parallels, you know, between the video footages and this image, and this is EKW, East Kolkata wetlands. You see the fishers here catching fish, and then the sewage water coming from the municipal canals, and then on the other hand you also see the threats of you know, hyper urbanization, how like real estate is coming up in this in the eastern part of the city, and so this is part of the dangers posed by speculative urbanism. Now, you already know now about the extensive and the elaborate canal network or canal system of Kolkata, and how and why did this canal system actually evolve, right. Now, I will take you further deeper, because this map again, if you see, you will immediately remember, you know, the other maps that you had seen in the last lecture. So, this is Kolkata, and this is like, you know, the river Hooghly, and this is the so Adi Ganga Tallies canal. The other canal networks are here, Keshtapur canal and you know, circular canal and all, and then the major dry weather flow canal, then finally you know, interconnected to the Kulti lock, and in between we have this wetlands, right. So, you already know this story now. What is very important, what is new that I will offer here that you have not seen in the previous map is the map here at the right side in yellow color. You will see like small inlet canals, you know, and the small inlet canals, they draw the wastewater from the main dry weather flow canal over here. So, this is the dry weather flow canal, municipal canal, main canal, sewage carrying canal, which carries the sewage up till the Kulti river, and the Kulti lock is there. So, what happens is that I told you before that in between, you know, actually it is not only the fishers, but it is a collaborative attempt of the Department of Fisheries. Then previously the zamindars were also there, but now you see the fishers and you know the water user associations. So, there are like complex social arrangements over here, and you have to understand that, and that is why, and that is how these technological apparatuses can function properly, because technology is not apart from you know, technology is not something which is not part of society, but rather technology is part of, you know, social decision making. That technology is, so that is why, you know, we try to analyze and understand everything today from the perspective of STS, which means science, technology, society interconnections, right. So, there are arrangement, there are social arrangement, there are these wastewater user associations, and there are, you know, the cooperative members, there are fishers, the role of gender is also there. So, you see small inlet canal, then you know, carrying the wastewater from the DWF canal and feeding the bheris, the sewage fed ponds, and that is how, you know, pisciculture again is facilitated in the bheris, and that system is also complex, where you see that how wastewater enters and reaches from one pond to the other. So, which are known as waste stabilization ponds, and then the final outcome is actually fish, and also the final outcome is purified water then sent back to the DWF canal, and now the DWF canal carries wastewater which is far less in terms of their BOD COD load, and then a better version of water or wastewater actually, or purified water to an extent, it reaches the Kulti river. So, this is such a fascinating, you know, an intricate drainage sewerage wetland system. Yes. So, the final part of this presentation, where, you know, I already told you in the route map that this is something which we really need to focus a lot. Anyone and everyone interested in urban ecology, coming from architecture, coming from planning, coming from, you know, development studies background, need to really think about this. I was highly inspired, you know, by this article by Stephanie Carlyle, who is an environmental architect, and she wrote this article called Productive Filtration Living System Infrastructure in Kolkata, and you understand now that how I have borrowed this concept and called it living systems infrastructures, right. Just take a look into the image. I think this is very, very powerful, where you cannot really segregate and differentiate the elements, but you also see that there are many elements together. And you read the argument put forward by Carlyle, where she says that, and this is one of my favorite quotations, or rather arguments. So, Carlyle says that resilient adaptive infrastructure cannot be built. So, beware the engineers, the architects, do not try to build a resilient infrastructure, because resilience is embedded, it is there, it exists, whether you are able to see it or not, it actually exists. So, a good engineer, a good architect will be focusing this on these nuances, on these existential essential nuances that actually that actually kind of make the city resilient from below. So, there is no need to plan and to impose and transplant resilience from above, it does not work, it does not work like that. So, she says that it grows slowly, but extensively, building up relationships in steps and bounds, integrating into surrounding systems, flows and entities. It evolves and shifts till it is essential and invisible. Such a beautiful understanding from the urban ecology perspective. So, and that is why my final words are actually that what does seeing and hence envisioning like an urban ecologist imply? First, as I mentioned, drawing from Carlyle and several other social sciences discourses, but also architectural and urban ecology discourses, that resilience cannot be transplanted and it cannot be planned, it cannot be planned and transplanted from above. If we are doing this, we are making a mistake, and that is why all these schemes such as blue, green, grey infrastructures, unfortunately they do not work always as they are planned, because they are capital intensive, power laden structures that unfortunately do not recognize the embedded, the integrated existential essential attributes that are already there. So, that is why explorations of and immersions in the agential abilities of more than human interactions are needed. So, what do I mean by this? I have taken it from Barad. So, Barad had talked about interactions apart from and along with interactions. So, in interactions, what is the difference between the two? We need to understand this. What is the difference between interaction and intra-actions? So, in interactions, it is still the pre-established entities who tend to participate with each other, who tend to interact with each other, and is through some actions. But in interactions, it's weightage is not given to the agency of the individuals or entities who are willing to interact, willing to participate and interact in actions, but the weightage is given on the dynamic forces that make this interaction possible, or that actually make these interactions inevitable. So, that is what interaction is all about. So, why do we need to understand and nurture these perspectives? Because we have to co-create designs. It is not only the human agency, but it is also the agency of the non-human actors. You have seen the power of the cow, you have seen the power of the snails, you have seen the power of the water hyacinth, and you have seen how the localites, they had also invested in this part, and how all these arrangements are to a great extent is also about celebrating these non-human interactions. So, East Kolkata wetlands is a fascinating socio-technical, environmental exemplary example that I think establishes this notion of interaction and this notion of resilience existential and essential resilience that is already there as part of the urban ecological tapestry. So, it is thus important to co-create designs to facilitate existing essential existential and essential attributes co-constituting urban nature. These are the references, and all these names are there: Karen Barad, Carlyle, and Dhrubati Ghosh's book, from where I have used those beautiful sketches, sweet sketches. And then this is the book again, Blue Infrastructure, but I would recommend you to read these two articles as much as possible with lot of focus. So, the one by Carlyle and the other by me, and in both you find this as common: living system infrastructures. And very interestingly, our case studies are also the same. So, Carlyle also had worked on East Kolkata wetlands. I also had worked on East Kolkata wetlands. Carlyle comes from the background of architecture. I come from the background of environmental history and political ecology. And then you see that our conversations. So, Carlyle lighting in 2013 and myself developing this concept further 9 years later, 2022, and you can actually try to make a comparison between the two. So, conclusion. The three snapshots, the snail story, the water hyacinth story, and the cow dung story from the EKW, from the East Kolkata wetlands, demonstrate that this socio-ecological system is an adaptive living system infrastructure evolved within space-time cultural contexts across an intersecting technological apparatuses and social arrangements, and constant, now here I add, intra and interactions between human and non-human actors. The understanding of long-term urban ecological inheritance, it is where heritage matters, is imperative to see and envision like an urban ecologist informed by web. You remember web, right? Weaved, embedded belongings, and not engineers and planners transplanting designs from above.